of the show in here on this stormy afternoon. Work Trucks bringing you the show tonight. TRUX, WorkTrucksLLC.com. They've got your trucks downtown. If you've got a business or an organization, or you just cheap and you don't need a fancy truck, you just need the basics to get your stuff done, it's Work Trucks. The business model is pretty simple. They go off. Most of these trucks come from off lease programs where the miles are kept low and the trucks are sort of babied and maintained. Then those rotate out. They go scoop them up, bring them back to Birmingham. Then they go through them 125 points. I say it all the time. I wouldn't even know what to look for 125 points. I could probably think of about 50. 125 different things have to check, or that truck doesn't make it on the lot. And then they put them out there for all of us with different configurations: box trucks, big old vans, those high top Sprinter vans, cargo vans, passenger vans, flatbeds, bucket trucks, crane trucks, pickup trucks, outfitted or not, shop trucks or ladder trucks or service bodies. They're all down there. They back them with warranties. So they'll help you get finance. It's turnkey. Especially if you've got a business, you could waste a lot of time scrolling around online trying to track a truck down that you need that's probably already downtown. They've already done the hard work. Just go pick it up and you focus on making money and getting revenue in the door. It's Work Trucks, TRUX, WorkTrucksLLC.com. All right, we need to start with the weather, then I'll get back to these calls. We're having a pretty good discussion this afternoon about all these map wars that are going on all over the place in the country, really. But the weather, we're now under a tornado watch for the most of the evening. The system started developing and got in here a little bit early, but most of the harder stuff is back to the west, the stuff that's yet to develop into possible tornado weather. Up around Tennessee, just over the line near North Georgia and near Chattanooga, they're clocking 60-mile-an-hour winds at one of those cells. I keep looking back into Mississippi because that's where the most energy for this thing is going to come from, but it's hard to see everything just on a rain radar. So here are the scenarios. The biggest scenario for us tonight is possible tornadic development, and what we do know, we're pretty sure of heavy rainfall, a lot of rain accumulation through the evening. And it does look like it's sort of forming a line back just south of Oxford. And we're waiting on the backside of that to get on through here tonight, and then we can kind of all rest easier. But these things are still scattered. They're not formed up yet to form supercells or anything. But tornadoes are a possibility, not necessarily a probability, but a possibility as we go through the evening. Hail. Some of you may not get much of anything. Just depends on where it hits and where you are and if you get underneath it and for how long. We've seen this before. But we'll stay under this tornado watch for a good while tonight, and we'll keep you posted on that too. Let me see if they put a time limit. Usually it's going to be till after midnight with this scenario, but I'll pull that up for you here in just a second. All right, what else we got? That should get us going for this hour. We've already talked heavily about all the big items of the day. Let's just do more calls. If y'all want to get in here tonight, a lot of people have questions about how this process works, because what we're asking people to consider, and I actually learn from the questions that are coming in because I understand where people are missing information. We shouldn't blow past people that don't follow redistricting ever. I mean, whoever follows redistricting when it normally happens and how that process works, and who follows what landmark decision versus another decision, those make a bigger splash in the news cycle. I just happen to have lived a strange Forrest Gump lifestyle where I worked on redistricting here in the state a few times for different advocacy groups trying to get it right. This was primarily when Republicans were in the minority. Well, we were in the minority. And they were also, same way as now, every time there's a drawing of a map, both parties, because we're stuck in this ridiculous two-party system, are always looking for advantage. They're always looking for the districts that suit them best, even when we're not throwing race in the mix to guarantee seats for the Democrats. The courts have told us you cannot do that. So now we got to correct. I was noticing, too, in Tennessee, they pulled out a map today that makes it 9-0 in Tennessee. But this isn't a race issue necessarily. The one Democrat district that votes that has put a Democrat in Congress over in Tennessee, it's kind of rooted in Memphis. This bald white guy named Steve Cohen. Y'all remember him? He is a complete jerkwad. He ate a bucket of chicken one time in the middle of a hearing to try to make a point. He is a total ass. And he's going to have to run in a fair district, not a district drawn for the Democrats. Bottom line is, if you draw these districts right, it's not about white or black. It's about Democrat and Republican for the most part. There's no guarantees of any of these things when they do happen in some states. And by the way, the Northeast, the Democrats have done this forever, where they completely, when they control the process, they control their legislatures and their governorships, they draw the Republicans completely out of existence. Look at and even Steve Marshall put a notation about this up today. You go to the Northeast corridor from Boston north, all of New England up into Maine, there ain't a damn Republican anywhere to be found in the United States Congress from any of those states. I think it's 10 or 12 states, none of them. And they vote 45% Republican every single time. 45, close to 50% for Trump, no Republicans in Congress. So the South just happens to be aligned with the majority now that aligns with the Republicans. This is what you're going to get. That's what happens. So we'll see what the legislature does. I think they're a bunch of wimps, and they're going to try to just, I don't know, they're trying to be appeasing about it, and that's not how you fight nowadays. And I mean this to not overstate it, because since I've been covering the news or when I was involved in politics, everybody says the next election is the most important of their lifetime. Every single election, we always, it's the most important of our lifetimes. And in some ways, they're right. Every election, the next one's always more important, because if you're ever going to get change or even hold on to your agenda, you gotta win. And in Congress, it's every 2 years, so there is a lot at stake. But it's even more so than when it was just the Democrats might control or the Republicans might control. I'm telling you, the Democrats have gone over to another. It's not my grandfather's Democrat Party. It's not even Bill Clinton's Democrat Party. These are not the same people. There's a generation of them that are straight scary, and they get the worst ideas in history. And all their ideas fall apart. They fail at everything. They are terrible at running stuff. I gave you the Mississippi example earlier, where the Republicans in Mississippi have created at a much lower cost a better education system, especially for young black fourth graders, than the state of California, who spends 3 times as much. If you are a black child in Mississippi, you are 2.5 times now better able to read and reading comprehension than people in California. Why is that? Because one party kowtows to a teachers union, which enforces mediocrity. The other party did something creative. Yeah, even in a state like Mississippi, without a lot of resources, when it's all said and done, it's about policies and what you believe in and what are your solutions and what gets fixed. The Democrats have moved themselves into a pathology of vengeance against Trump, like this is like it's a sports league and you just got to win the next playoff. And how about some ideas? I know invading the country from an open border and wrecking the economy with too much government spending didn't work. Soft on crime and putting criminals loose in the streets and all the murder rates going up. Guess what? We're at 125 low on murders. We've stopped the border invasion. Let me repeat that. We've stopped an invasion of the country. Stopped it. It's net going the other way now. There's some positive things happening. They would paralyze every bit of that with their bad ideas if they were to get control. Here's my final point. I'll go to Larry. For these wimps down in the legislature that would still hand them a seat, it could come down to one vote. These critical issues of our day, whether this republic after 250 years survives or not, with the composition of Congress right now, could come down to 2 or 3 votes. Why hand them a free seat? Redraw the damn map. We know based on the court that all of these districts, the way the map is drawn now, both this map and the one before it in 23 are unconstitutional. Redraw them. We got to keep the heat on them because they'll punt and run. Larry's on a cell phone. What's up, Larry?
Hey, Leland, thanks for taking my call. I just wanted to throw something at you that I get confused about a good bit. I practiced as an administrator from the late 80s to about 2000 and worked with the PAC in Montgomery and legislature for about a week. But my question is, now that, the Republicans own, the executive, the legislative, and the Senate, all 3 branches, with the filibuster, why can't they, am I mistaken or am I misinterpreting that they got the power, say, like Obamacare, socialized medicine's never worked anywhere. But, I mean, since they've got that power, I just don't understand why they're not trying to do something to get some of the things that were put into place that should be changed could be changed since they've got all three branches. Am I misinterpreting the filibuster, or just tell me?
Well,
I'm not sure.
in some ways, because John Thune is a country clubber type, and he believes in the old boy rules of the genteel Senate, he's not willing to use his majority to just get things passed. But it's like the dress code at the country club. You wear your tennis whites on Wednesday. He's not going to violate that rule, even if it means the club burns down. He's going to stick to his principles, and his principles are mediocrity and same old, same old. And so this guy's in the way of it. He sets the agenda. He kept a parliamentarian that decides these things. That was a holdover from Mitch McConnell. That was a plant by the Democrats. He has been a huge disappointment, and we warned you about that when the establishment chose. Look, the people that have bought and sold our representatives, hear me out. It's not a conspiracy theory. Seen it firsthand. Why would they want change? They own the system. Why would they want reform or rebellion when they've already bought everybody off? This is why we get senators that stay in office for 40 years, because once you bought them off 30 years ago, you can own them for a lifetime. I mean, you already own them. You either compromised them or you paid for them. They don't go squirrely on you. They answer to the money crowd, and the money crowd could care less about delving back into fixing this wreck of a healthcare system where Obama lied to this country about what it was going to do.
Oh,
and
God.
it just wrecked everything, and we see it now. It's falling apart on its own. Gary Palmer comes on the show with me and says Republicans have a plan to replace it. Trump wants free market stuff so you can go out and buy your own insurance without being tied to an employer, pool with other people to get pool rates. These are innovative market approaches, but you can't get these sad sacks in the Senate to move off any of this stuff because it's going to draw too much heat and opposition. And honestly, they don't like working that hard. They don't want to have to stand and fight and defend or do a real filibuster where you have to stand in the well and argue and talk. They don't even want to do that. They just like the rule where somebody declares a filibuster and then they all go to dinner because some lobbyist is treating that night.
I got to say one more thing, Leland, but I was driving through Kentucky going toward Cincinnati. This was years ago. I'll never forget. It was early AM hours, and I look up in the woods, beautiful, just, it's just a huge board up there. It's kind of lit up in the air, and I was at a distance, and I looked, and it was just in big, bold letters, Moscow Mitch. I'll never forget that as long as I'm in the state of Kentucky. But
they used to call him Cocaine Mitch, too.
You miss it, too. It was in a distance. Yeah, but he's been a senator for so long. But enjoy the show. Thanks, Leland.
All right, man. Good question, Larry. Yeah, I mean, look, what we really need are term limits, both parties, everybody, term limits. 2 terms in the Senate, go your ass home. It should never be a career. If I would be even more firm about it, I'd say you can never, ever, ever lobby or make money from the system after you've served in office. You got to go back to your real job, whatever that was. And you can't go from one system back to the other. You can't be in the lobby community. And that, to me, that would include PR, organizational politics. You can't go from one into the office where you can trade off your experience in the office to make personal wealth before or after the job. These people are there for the tips. It's not the direct pay. They're there for the book deals and their wives to get put on to boards and their husbands to get stock tips. It's corrupt to the core. Absolutely both parties deal with it. So, yeah, I'd go straight up term limits. I'd go tight campaign contribution limits. I get the free speech argument on that. But the pooled resources of the PAC system is complete legal money laundering and influence peddling, and country's worse off for it. And we get these careerists, we get the ambition people who are so ambitious to make a name for themselves and become a brand and get on TV and cash in. Those are the most corruptible people that you could put in office. You could flip a phone book open and pick somebody in any part of the city that could go up there and do a more common sense job than some of the things that we have to put up with generally in Congress. But we don't do it that way. And it's a pay-to-play system, and I've seen it up close. It's disgusting, but it's true. I used to think we had good guys and bad guys, and I thought I was on the good guy team until I was on the team for a while. And then one day I'm looking at my shoes going, these people are as corrupt as the other ones. It's probably why I'm talking on the radio right now. Douglas Cooling and Heating bringing you the show tonight. calldouglas.com, CALL, calldouglas.com. Time to tune up for summer. Man, you probably have already done it. If you haven't, you should do it twice a year. And they've got a plan called the Easy, I think the Douglas Care Package is what they call it. And I'm on it. And you can prepay, and it gives you great rates and then puts you on a schedule. And then they take care of it. And you don't have to remind yourself. If you listen to this show, I'm going to remind you anyway. But good maintenance is everything. It makes it run better, makes you feel better at night when you're trying to sleep, keeps your power bills as low as possible, helps save because your system's not overusing electricity to keep you comfy. Makes sense. They're there for replacements. They're going to do a new install for me this year. I just appreciate Jay and the whole company and how competent they are. They've got a plumbing division too. So if you do have plumbing issues, let them know. They'll come out and take care of that for you too. License number 2017181. CallDouglas.com. Pretty easy enough, right? CallDouglas.com. All right, it's 525. Leland Love. Let's keep on trucking. All right. I tell you what, let me make sure I'm caught up here. There is a supercell near Montgomery that's there's a debris signature in that. That's outside of our main area, but it's getting dicey to our south. Keep an eye on it tonight. This could be rapidly developing. Axiom Tax Resolution Group. That's my man Perry Cronin and his team over there. Let them get you some relief if you're freaking out about the IRS, and I would freak out too if I got one of those threat letters. They will do everything they can to intimidate you out of your money before you even get a chance to argue back. It's an unfair system. Unless you got Perry on your team because he gets it. He knows the laws, he knows your rights, he knows their deadlines and requirements on their side and can help negotiate you down to something that could get you some peace of mind, get your sleep back. I don't even know how people sleep when you're stressed over something like this. It's Perry Cronin, Axiom Tax Resolution Group, 205tax.com, 205tax.com. The local phone number is 872-1100. Y'all call Perry and get some peace in your life. This man brings to peace. Axiom Tax Resolution Group. Chase is up next on a cell phone. What's up, Chase?
Oh, not much, Leland. You know, it's a sad day when you look at both of the people that are supposed to be your representatives, you know, both either Democrat or Republican, and they're literally two sides of the same coin. You know, you got the Democrats who are trying to rule your entire life, and the Republicans who just want to sit back and just be like, well, don't rock the boat, don't rock the boat. And it's aggravating that in my 39 years of being alive, you know, I used to root for the Republicans all day long, thinking like they really are trying to get there and fight, and they're nothing but a bunch of spineless cowards who don't want to fight. And you know, and it's just like with the Save America Act. How is it that both sides are screaming past the you know what act, and yet Thun's up there twiddling his thumbs, acting like, well, we can't do nothing, blah, 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 making every excuse under the sun. It's aggravating because these people don't want to pass it because they want to use it for their own nefarious purposes and, you know, want to be able to stab people in the back. Because you know what? If you want the greatest example of somebody stabbing this current administration in the back, you look at Marjorie Taylor Greene, who just because she got told, no, you're not going to win if you run, so Trump's not going to endorse her, what does she do? Instead of finishing her term out like a person of character we thought she was, you know what she does? She quits, gets on The View and all these television shows and starts complaining about how bad Trump is. No, woman, you got your feelings hurt. So, sorry, I'm a little fired up.
That's okay. Yeah, it's about a lot of them. It becomes about them and not really any kind of cause. They know all the buzzwords because their pollster will tell them what to do to get elected. And here's what I'm here to declare right now, though. In this MAGA era that we're in, for as long as it lasts, and it won't last, it'll eventually dissolve. People wear down. But it's no longer good enough for a Republican to say, vote for me, I'm not a Democrat. That's how they get elected. They go, vote for me, I'm not one of those crazy people. Look what they're doing. Why, they're trying to put perverts in your child's locker room and border invasions. And they say all that stuff, and we're like, yeah. So we'd never vote for the crazy party. And it's not enough for them to warm a seat, make their connections, work on their brand, aggrandize themselves, and not really fight when it gets hard. The hard part is now. The hard part is fighting like the Democrats fight. They don't let up. These people, the Democrats, have been very aggressive in their districting plans, and it's worked for them. Now we got an opportunity to push back. The Republicans should be just as aggressive where they have the advantage.
You're absolutely right. I mean, actions speak louder than words, and so far, and this goes for both our state and our federal representatives. They're not fighting, sitting on the sidelines twiddling their thumbs.
All right, good call, Chase. That's how you do it, man. Just knocked it out right there at the end so we can go to the bottom of the hour break. Let's do that. We'll come back. I'll get you up. I'm still watching the weather. Nothing really big for our area, but we do have a really scary-looking situation down just to the south of our coverage area down around Montgomery. We're going to be watching all that. We may get our first tornado warning out of that. Back here in just a minute, 5:30, Leland Live. Y'all stay tuned. It's 5:34, Leland Live. Stockton Mortgage next up. I'm going to handle it for Thomas tonight. He's probably helping somebody get to a close. These guys work all the time. If you're just ballparking or spitballing, or maybe you have specific plans about what you need to do, you know you need to get a construction project done, or you need to cash out because you need the money for something else, or you got a bunch of crazy credit card debt that could easily be consolidated into something that actually you'll be able to pay back. Y'all, it is our good friend Thomas and everybody down there at SaveWithStockton.com. They set that website up so you could reach out to them. You don't have to be ready to fill out forms and submit all this stuff. They'll just talk to you, gameplay, scenario, tell you what's possible. Then you got to get to work. And when you're ready to get to work, they'll roll up their sleeves and hold your hands and get you all the way to the close. They are there to say yes, too. They love saying yes. So don't be intimidated. Just call them. That first step's everything. SaveWithStockton.com. SaveWithStockton.com. All right. Hope, I see you over there, but let me take care of this real quick. Montgomery is not in our coverage area, and I've been talking about this the last few minutes, but they do have a tornado warning down there and reported tornado on the ground. If you know Montgomery's geography, it's around the Pike Road area. It's kind of heading over into Macon County, and there are some reports from the Pike Road area that this thing could have baseball-sized hail in it. Now, it looks like all the energy so far this afternoon, we don't know where it's going to go tonight, has been to our south, primarily down around Montgomery, and they're catching a pretty big system. One of the forecasters said they had a debris field in this tornado as well. No damage pictures, but we're keeping an eye on that situation. We're not going to track it because, again, that's not our area of responsibility. We try to save that so we're not wearing you out with warnings to when it's something around us that we need to take care of. All right, so there's that. Here's Hope in Columbiana. What's up, Hope?
Hi, Leland. I just want to ask a question as someone who is 24 years old and has only been alive, post 9/11.
Yeah.
When was the big shift where the Democratic Party turned completely radical? Has it maybe always been that way, or was it immediately after 9/11 because of the Islamophobia rhetoric, or was it during Obama when he started the divisive rhetoric? Or was it even actually COVID in 2020 when we were all glued to social media? I would just love a perspective from someone who lived through it,
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going to let you answer, but I listen every day. Never change.
Well, thanks, Hope. Just hang in there, and you might have some questions, and I'll make sure I'm answering your question the way you want to. It's never sudden. It's kind of a slow lurch. But through the Clinton years, as much as I couldn't stand Clinton, Democrats were more mainstream. Somewhere about 96, Clinton got into office when they really started overreaching and giving up on trying to even appeal to the mainstream was somewhere after Clinton. Clinton got in office and they tried to nationalize health care. They tried to do a big gun grab in 94, and Clinton was on his way out. He became suddenly very unpopular. What saved Clinton was a couple of things. Republicans took over Congress, and the Oklahoma City bombing happened, and it was a rhetorical tool for the American left to somehow blame the American right for that instant. And that saved Bill Clinton. He gave an emotional speech. And then he started what he called triangulating with Republicans. So he and Bob Dole worked out welfare reform. Can you believe this? In the 90s, the Democrats were for cracking down on criminals. They were for 3 strikes you're out. They passed a massive welfare reform bill to crack down on welfare cheats. This is not just in my lifetime, within my professional career when I got actively involved in politics. So there's no date, but if I had to say when did the transition begin, it was the end of the Bill Clinton era. So then we wound up with Bush because Al Gore was just a total goober. And somewhere in there between the Bush years and Obama showing up, they made a dramatic lurch. And they've always had these sensibilities. In other words, they've had an affinity for Che Guevara, and they fantasize. All liberals do this. They're emotional creatures. So they fantasize about revolution or, Hillary Clinton was a total sort of Cloward and Piven revolutionary hag on all the college campuses when she grew up. And there's activism in their hearts, but they let me try to explain it this way, Hope. They're still acting out their true beliefs, but they knew how to keep them hidden through the 90s and act more mainstream and then try to push their agenda a little more quietly because their agenda scared the hell out of people. Obama gave them a little bit of cover, and they hid behind his race and status as the first black president to be more radical because he come from an absolutely radical background. American hating, third worlder is this guy's worldview, and steeped and trained in this stuff. I mean, if you're that young, you don't remember Obama's mentor was a guy named Bill Ayers. We used to call him the Fresh Prince of Bill Ayers. The day we were hit on 9/11, the New York Times had done a flattering piece about Bill Ayers, and they put him on the cover of the paper standing on an American flag. So these were the radicals from the 60s and 70s that grew up, put on suits and ties, dropped the divisive lingo, and tried to blend in. And then they just got more loud about it. I grew up with classic liberals. A lot of my family were in the Democrat Party. My dad was probably, most likely. He was a big Clinton guy. They weren't crazy, but it's been a neurotic thing. And the end for them, I don't know when it began. It was a slow boil. The end for them was Trump. I mean, what did them in and made them psychologically unable to function and be strategically just total idiots outside. When Trump got elected, I think it shocked them because they thought Hillary had it. And so they went to a different tact. They weren't going to get beaten by a popular vote again. They weren't going to get beaten by an unexpected. They thought they would run against milquetoast Jeb Bush and beat him like they beat Mitt Romney and John McCain and all those other losers. So they were up against something different, and he wasn't bought and sold. A lot of Republicans and a lot of the craziness of the Democrats has a lot to do with the weakness of the Republicans. They got bolder, and the Republicans didn't know how to put up a good fight. Bob Dole was terrible. Romney was terrible. McCain, all those candidates were just not. They had no killer instinct whatsoever. And did I vote for them? Yeah, I had to. But God. But as the Republicans started waving the surrender flag and being coward over. They're good at changing language, so they changed the way we define things, looked the other way when things were going wrong on crime, on the rise of ISIS and Islam and terrorism, especially during the Obama years, because they were trying to change the whole system. They were trying to systemically change things. They created a myth called climate change to hide behind that to redistribute wealth. They're smart. I mean, they're so smart. But they've lost control of their smart because they've become nuts. And I've said it over and over again. Now they believe, or at least for a while, especially after 2020, they don't have to be right on the issues. They don't even have to be popular anymore. They can say what they really feel because they got that system rigged. If I told you we were going to play a football game, my team versus your team, and you knew my team could kick your team's ass, but you owned the scoreboard operator, and he could put any score he wanted to on the board. So at the end of the game, you were going to win no matter what. You could do what you wanted to. You could run around in circles on the field. You're going to keep getting touchdowns from the scoreboard operator. So the media was their scoreboard. They were kind of the play-by-play commentators, and the election was their scoreboard that they rigged. And they did that through the same thing we're talking about all day today, redistricting. They went around and sued states and bullied them into having to force maps that were to the Democrats' advantage. They stuffed millions of people into states like California, which are failing and needing a head count to be able to keep their numbers of Congress and their electoral votes intact. They're replacing Americans. Yes, to my black listeners, you're being replaced too, just like the white folk. If you're an American and your family's been here for more than 2 or 3 generations, you're being replaced by people from other countries. It's not a race thing. It's a national thing. They want to bust up the affinity and the affection and the emotion and the traditions and what we hold dear together, the things that bind us together as Americans. And they've been systemically working on it non-stop. They had Soros, and they infected all of the DAs, which was a weak spot the Republicans weren't even paying attention to. the Republicans were obsessed with winning presidential races, and Soros went and bought up all the DAs and started letting people out of prison. Why would you do that? Why would any rational person do that? Chaos. If they can sow chaos and keep tension and cause incidents like inflammatory incidents like George Floyd, if you can fake a climate change crisis, if you can fake Charlottesville, which we just caught them doing with the Southern Poverty Law Center, they've always been on the team, and create just unease in a country, not to mention the COVID fiasco. You can then go in and change the rules of the system and get permanent control. And they were this damn close to doing it. You know what's killing all of that was Trump's second term. People woke up to our abuses during COVID. They wrecked our economy because they moved too fast on that. And now they've been driven mad by this guy. And you know what the thing that drives them mad the most about? It's because he's winning. He's winning. He kicked their ass. He beat back the assassination attempts, the court filings, the fake criminal cases, the election rigging, the stagecraft, the histrionics. He's outboxed all of them, and he is systematically dismantling their freaking playhouse, all of it. The USAID funding, the NGO funding, the SPLC funding, the immigrants flooding across that they were going to use at the voter bases, going through the DEI programs that they were using to shove people out of positions of power. Trump's team has systematically tore down their playhouse, public television, all of the other discrimination they engaged in. And then, of course, he's gotten these 3 appointments on the Supreme Court, which are saving this freaking country right now. And by the way, you let these bastards back in and they get to pack the courts. Look at the last one. They're going to put 7 more Ketanji Brown Jacksons on the court. That woman couldn't prepare a will. She just got scolded by Alito. They're embarrassed. I saw one court insider that's a moderate that said that if they had only put, Biden could have picked a African-American justice that was polite and pleasant and less political, and that person could have had sway over the majority side, especially when you got weaklings like John Roberts, and pulled them over to her side. And the Democrats might have gotten a couple of 5-4 rulings, but they put this divisive, angry, partisan woman who they say acts like a lunatic behind the scenes, couldn't write a damn opinion if you spotted her a whole AI program to write it for her, and she's an embarrassment to the left. And there she sits, and she's forced the other 6 to galvanize. That's some inside baseball Supreme Court stuff. They've gone mad, and I hope they stay that way, because right now they don't have a message, they don't have a leader, they're short on funding, and the polls going against them in some ways. The best thing they got going is somebody like John Thune, or this Poon down in Texas, or Cassidy, or these Republicans here in Alabama that won't fight back. That's what all of these weak-ass fake MAGA people should get a fruitcake from the Democrats for Christmas this year for playing along and not having the balls to fight them like they've been fought against. Man, that's a long answer. I don't even know if Hope asked for all that. Ox Foundation Solutions. If you got a basement, you could have problems. If you got a crawl space, you got a block, poured wall, slab, whatever you got going on, water is trying to get in, especially on nights like tonight. It comes kicking in the door. It literally will cause a crack that can cause a opening that can let itself in, and then it wants to set up shop and make your house moldy. So if you see any sign, even if you don't see signs, sometimes you just want to check up. Get Ox over there. Cracks in the wall, sticky doors, sticky windows, warped floors, clearly water, any sign of water. Smell it, taste it, know it's there. Get them over there and stop it before it keeps going. One problem causes another with foundation issues. The best in the business is Ox Strong. They're good. They got good-looking trucks, sharply dressed staff, great training for their technicians. They'll come out and solve it for you. Oxstrong.com, oxstrong.com. Back in a minute. Man, I got on a tear with that little question from Hope. Sorry about that. I almost got behind. Allen and Company ready to help you out. If you take care of Mama, you got her flowers, you got her some bling, you got her something sweet to remember Mother's Day. We don't get our mothers as long as we would like, so take care of Mama. Swing by Allen and Company. You got a few more days before Mother's Day. Those graduates too. There's nothing like commemorating the graduation year. That year's with you your whole life. Your birth year and your graduation year. So take care of those graduates there too. And meantime, day to day, anything you need, y'all reach out to them and they'll handle your cleanings, your resizing, fixing missing stones, broken chains, custom design work. If you're doing an engagement setting, there are a lot of engagements in the springtime and in the summer. If you're feeling sparky and it's your time to pop the question, y'all go work with Allen and Company. They'll work with, hey fellas, they'll work with you and her. Kind of give you a wink, give her a wink, find out what she wants, work with you on your budget, even finance it for you. They're just good like that. That's because they're good local folks that have the right touch when it comes to personal jewelry. You'll love the Thompson family too. I really believe once you buy there and get to know them, that'll be your jewelry place. You'll have your own personal place. Allen and Company in Vestavia, right there on Highway 31. All right, let me sweep up and clean up from everything that's happening. A couple of quick police actions that are going on around the country today. Out in L.A., apparently there's a massive FBI roundup of drug cartel members, and the cops are everywhere. The feds are everywhere all over L.A. I don't know who they're sweeping this time. We've seen this song a couple of weeks ago, and good on them. With the war on the cartels is still going on. Even all this other stuff is going on. We're hitting the drug boats. We've closed the border, and now we're wrapping up some of their networks that are operating here in the country. The last one was being run out of the prison system. Y'all remember in just 2 years ago when the FBI was out just harassing people for their politics? They were out harassing Catholics for going to PTA meetings, looking for ghosts all over the place. These alleged white nationalists, which are supposed to be meeting in the woods, ready to go lynch somebody that they couldn't find. They were out doing all this other stupid stuff, raiding the house of a former president. Guess what they're doing now? Busting real criminals, gangbangers and drug dealers. Yeah, that's good, especially L.A., which, by the way, has got one of the funniest mayor's races I've ever seen going on right now. This is good stuff. There was another raid today by the FBI. Let me get this back in here because I still don't know what's going on with it. Very powerful senator connected really closely with that weird governor they just elected. Her name is, she's the Senate pro tem there in Virginia, by the way. Her name is Louise Lucas. I don't know what she's accused of. We'll give her the benefit of the doubt, but they also hit a bunch of cannabis shops when they hit her. And the allegation is a bribery kickback scheme when it comes to the weed dealers. So I guess they got legalized weed and they got to get state permission or something. And she's getting a cut is what they're alleging. We don't know. And by the way, before you say this is some kind of politics or vindictive, this investigation started under Biden. The FBI was onto this woman. They had her under surveillance. But a U.S. attorney who's now been fired ran interference and wouldn't let it move forward. So the new team comes in and picks up the files and goes, what's this about? And they've been getting ready to move in on this woman. So they just did the right thing and stopped these government officials from being on the take, assuming that she's on the take. And I'm going to go ahead and make a prediction here. You let the weed business get established. I'm going to say it right now. I may not be around to get my attaboys, but you let the weed business get established in this state. These fools down in Montgomery can't even get it going because everybody wants a piece. They can't even decide how to divide up the pie. It's the same reason we can't get, clean lottery bills or anything like that. The gamblers have bought everybody in the legislature, it seems, the current gambling interest. But when it comes to big weed, the minute we have dispensaries and a system that has revenue attached to it, we're going to have a scandal just like this. Somebody will hook their brother up to get a dealership. Somebody will demand a toll like the Iranians in the Strait of Hormuz. This lady in Virginia was running her own little Strait of Hormuz scam, it seems. Good Lord. I like to see people get busted for corruption charges. I really do. I don't care what party they're in. I'm more disgusted with the Republicans when they get caught than the Democrats, who I expect to be corrupt. One more look at the weather. Let me sweep up and check that one more time. Crazy storm system just now moving east of Montgomery, There have been tornadoes embedded in that thing, a debris signature, and some reports of hail the size of baseballs. It's hard to predict where these are going to bubble up and roll through. But right now, the timing for Birmingham Metro seems like most of the energy went south of the city and is staying down in South Alabama. And this thing kind of split. We've got some of it also to our north up around Coleman and Jasper and Gadsden and in those areas. But tonight will be remaining rounds. It's sort of a parade of storms along this frontal system. And we are under a tornado watch pretty much for the rest of the evening. So the instability is still there for us. So we're waiting to see what the forecasters say from there. But what I'm saying is don't drop your guard because it's still early in the evening and we still got a long way to go to get this thing cleared out. One more time for Lania's Furniture Company. This is where I bought nearly every piece in my house came straight from Lania's. And when I bought that house, I had a clean slate. It was just totally empty and I wanted to start from scratch and make it match. So I was able, this is pre-COVID, I was able to order. I was able to order furniture from the factory just like I wanted. I took pictures of a couch I liked. It actually belongs to one of my sons. I said, I want something like that. I needed big, oversized stuff for my big old giant boys. And they pulled it together for me at Lania's. They can still do that. In addition to the beautiful stuff they've already brought into the market and put on display, and from time to time they have sales and the great help and the wonderful staff there, they'll custom order. They've got a Bassett Build-A-Bear section where they've got a whole program set up where you can pick the arms and the seat cushions and how many and fabric or leather and the feet and the nail heads or not. And you can design it in the colors and the number of pieces you need, make it exactly like you want it. If you're willing to wait for a minute, they're so patient helping you pull that together. Go order custom stuff at Lania's Furniture Company, exit 280, LaniasFurnitureCompany.com. All right, here we go. Y'all keep it on the down low tonight. Watch out for the storms. If it gets crazy, we'll jump up on the air and try to help out with the warnings. See y'all tomorrow.
All right, stay tuned. We're breaking break coming up next. Goodbye, AJ.